Alrighty, good morning, everybody. It is the first day of May. We're Monday, May 2nd, 2022, and we're going to go again and get started here with our pre-market on the S&P 500 futures market. So let's go ahead and jump up. I'm going to take a look real quickly at these higher time frames just so we can get a bigger perspective on what's going on here. And then we'll jump down to the shorter time frames and get into our levels. So real quickly here, at one point we were getting a nice bounce off 50% of the last year, and we're starting to track higher, but obviously the last few weeks have led to a pretty strong retracement. So we've found ourselves down below 50% of last year. So that's the only thing I wanted to mention up on this annual chart here. So looking like we're getting a little bit of a pullback, obviously. And then on our quarterly here, we have not broken the low of the previous quarterly bar. So that low was 40.9450, and we're getting close here. So when that breaks, we'll no longer have any of the potential bullish cases that I'm seeing here off of the lows right now. If I go over to my weekly chart, if you look at the lows here, if we end up holding above 94.50, I'm not saying we're going to, but if we do hold above that level, we will have a pretty extreme bullish divergence from this weekly perspective. So in the next few days, we'll probably get the answer here. So again, if we come down and hold 94.50 or do one of those little probes below, and then we start to trek higher, that could mean that we're done with the sell-off. But obviously, with all of the stuff going on the globe right now and all of the crap going on in the United States, it doesn't seem like there's anything from a fundamental perspective that should be pushing this market to come test the all-time highs. So the expectation is for the break of 94.50 and then for the trek down to lower lows. So there's not really much else to mention from the higher time frames. I just wanted to point out a potential bullish divergence on this weekly, but it's really nothing that I would expect to see happen. But we can't ignore that 94.50. Let me see if there's anything else to mention up here, and then I want to just get into all the levels we're going to be dealing with this week if this continues to sell off here. So looking at the daily, 50% of last Friday was 99 quarter. We're now about about 100 points below that right now, and I don't think there's really much else to mention here. So let's just jump into all the levels we're going to be dealing with this week and take a look at the previous structure level that we were holding was down here around 41.40. If we continue to sell off, the next major structure zone isn't until we get down into 40.80 and then all the way down into 4,000. So we've got a pretty straight shot, in my opinion, from the lows we're making in the overnight session. If those break, a pretty straight shot right into 40.80, and then a little bit below that will be all the way back down to 4,000 here. And you can see that that major structure zone, this 40.80 area, again, give or take a few points, is where the market has found a lot of support when it pulled back and tried to break through that area. And then you can even see there was an attempt to bounce and break out through 40.80 here, and a failure before it finally broke out above and started trekking higher. So that's where I'm getting 40.80 from. And then a little bit further down is right into this 4,005 to about 4,000 area. There's one other level that I want you guys to be aware of this morning. If we start to come down into this 4,100 area, we do have a little level right around, and actually let me go back here and see where I put this level. I put it on the short time frame chart, so give me 1 second. Yeah, 40.93. So let me go back and we'll take a look here. 40.93, which is right around this area here. So let's go over to where we are right now. If we end up continuing to break through the overnight low, then there's a level right around 40.93 that you want to be aware of as a potential support here. But if that breaks, it's right down to 40.80 and 4,000. So that's kind of the higher time frame levels I'm watching here. 4093, 4080, and then again right down into that 4000 area. So let's go into the 60-minute and look at everything that we're going to deal with this morning if the bulls end up finding support and bouncing out. And then we'll talk about some more defined levels down below when we get to that. So let's take a look here. We do have a decent peak below and bounce formation going on here with a bullish divergence on the 60-minute. And arguably, if it stays the way it looks right now, we'll have a 4-hour and an hourly bullish signal from the low that we're making in the overnight session here. So again, the expectation with that type of pattern, with those type of signals, is for a bounce out of that low and a test of the overnight high, if not a continuation higher. So let's take a look at what we're going to push back up to here. If the bulls continue to chug here, then the first thing they're going to have to get through is our orange power level, which happens to basically be the major structure or support and resistance level at 41.42. And we have the close from Friday, again, just a few points below there. So I went ahead and highlighted this zone right here as being our first contention zone for the bulls this morning. So from 41.37 to 41.42, a little 5-point range right there. That will be the first problem area for the bulls this morning. If they can get through there, we've got this major swing low, which I marked yesterday actually, and look at the high we made in the overnight session. So the high of the overnight session was 41.58 quarter. I was watching that swing low at 41.57. So it came right into 57, broke by a few ticks, and got this pullback in the overnight session. We got to get through there, obviously. And if that ends up getting broken, the next level I would expect to see trouble for the bulls would be right up into the next major swing in this major wick and this 38 retrace of this whole sell-off right here. So we've got 41.8250 all the way up into about 41.89 here as that next interesting zone. And then from there, we've got the next major structure level here at 4200. Which is where we kind of danced around at the end of last week. We came down to 4,200, or I should say the market came down to 4,200 and had a lot of trouble here back on April 26th. We sold off, and then bam, right into 4,200 and couldn't break through. Eventually, the bears were able to break through, and then it became another battle here back, I believe, on Wednesday of last week. And then you can see we came down, held it in the overnight session, and then probed through it on that morning of the 28th. And now we're down below it again. So coming up into 4,200 is going to be important. And then a little bit further from there, we've got our 4213. And then the next area I would be paying attention to is this 4232 into this next major swing that I marked here at 42.35, and you can see I went ahead and shaded that in as well. So this morning, this is what we're looking at for the bulls. If they do get through these levels, these are the levels we're looking for potential problems. And then if the bears end up holding and selling things off here and we get through the overnight low, we do have the minor eye level at 41.0850 sitting there, and then we're down into 40. Remember, 40.93 is kind of this one level that's sitting below these two minor eye levels. So we've got 41.08, 40.93, and then 40.80. If 40.80 ends up breaking, I don't really expect anything until we get down into 40.42. 40.23, and then the next major structure zone down here right around 4,000. There's a reason I have it at 4,004, so that should work to the tick, but remember, because this is a major support and resistance level, we could see some holds and some breaks that are a little bit more than a few ticks. So if it does break through 4,004, it would make sense to see something right around 97 there. So again, it's a little bit of a range over there. If that ends up breaking and the bears continue to chug lower, The next major structure zone is another about 50 points down to 39.45. And again, we do have two minor levels within 5 points of that on either side. So we have 39.50, 39.45, and 39.40 there. That's what I'd be targeting to the downside this morning. That's going to bring us another, what, 200, about 200, 250 points lower. So I don't know if it really makes sense to talk about what else is down below that. But I guess because it's Monday, and this is kind of for the whole week here, I'm not going to see you guys until Thursday. It might as well just mention it. All the major zones, 39.50, 39.14, and then if 39.14 breaks, the next major structure zone isn't all the way till another basically another 100 points lower to 38.22, and then we have 37.72. That's basically it below us. If the bulls have some type of rip your face rally and this thing comes up and gets through the high of Friday and basically the highs of last week, then we're right back up into 43.24.50, that major structure zone that has been working really well for the last month or two. And then from there, next major structure zone is up again right around 4,400. And then keep in mind we have 43.80, 43.60, and 43.50-ish in the way. So those are the major zones up above. These are the major zones down below. And then again, we talked about all the little junk in between, basically all of Friday, all of last week's price action. So with that, unless there's any questions, I think we're basically done with the pre-market for this morning. Keep in mind again, we are starting to see a nice multiple time frame bullish signal from the overnight low. So that could mean we're going to get an attempt for a breakout by the bulls. But the overall context of the market is obviously very heavy, and my expectation is for lower, with the caveat being that I'm starting to see a counter signal right now off that overnight low. So have a great morning, guys. We'll be back here on Thursday for another pre-market. Hope you guys have a great trading morning and a great week, and I will see you all on Thursday. Take care. Have a great day.